Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So there's a bunch of stuff that's been happening around the Gotham TV show that's going to air this fall. So I wanted to do a breakdown of all the new villains, as well as some of the things that people are saying about the pilot. They actually screened the first episode for a bunch of critics, and they basically said that if you're a Batman fan, you're going to love this show, which I think is really exciting. There was really only one common complaint that people had, but I'll explain that as well as do a breakdown of all the villains. If you're just finding me for the first time, I do DC and Marvel videos every week. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. There's a lot of fun stuff happening this summer, especially since Comic-Con is coming up. And I also pick a lot of bonus topics based on the things that you guys suggest, so feel free to leave me suggestions if there's something that you guys really want to learn about. So important stuff first, that pilot episode. Just like studios do for all big new series, they want to hype it. I haven't seen a lot of hype, which I think is a good thing. The only thing that people who have seen it are nervous about is the number of story threads that it sets up. The episode and the story is designed specifically with the Batman fandom in mind. They're basically trying to set up the entire season as well as the entire series in that one episode, so there is a lot of stuff packed in, but it means a number of really awesome things. First, they pay homage to all the characters' origins in really good ways. I think this is the most important part of the equation. If you look at a show like Arrow, which has a slightly smaller main cast, the more time you spend developing characters in the early episodes, the more it pays off at the end of the season. Jim Gordon is the anchor of the show. It's told from his perspective. Bruce Wayne and all the other Batman characters are just living in that world. Previously, the most we've seen of Gordon's origins were in Batman Year 1, whenever Gordon was still a rookie cop. Gotham is playing with the origin timeline just a little to make Ben McKenzie's version of the character a new detective just as Thomas and Martha Wayne are murdered. It's like the, oh shit, this is what I get on my first night on the job kind of thing. In Batman Year 1, Gordon was joining the Gotham City PD as a rookie just as Bruce Wayne was taking the mantle of the Bat. So in the comics, as well as the animated version of the story, it was like they were both new to the game at the same time. So the other big thing that's being said about that first episode is the idea of unfulfilled promises in all these big stories they're setting up. I don't necessarily think that that's a warning sign or a bad thing, but here's where we are with it. There's Ben McKenzie's Gordon. They have to establish his main story, joining the Gotham City PD and dealing with the murder of Thomas and Martha Wayne. Then there's the deck of cards that all the other big characters comprise, and a few characters that we haven't seen yet, or we won't see, but get referenced. Inside the Gotham City PD, there's Donald Logue's Bullock. Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy didn't really deal with the character in great detail, but if you rewatch Batman the Animated Series, you'll get a good feel for the character. Expect this version of the Bullock character to be a little more complicated because scoring an actor like Logue is a bit of a win for the series, so whenever they cast big actors like Donald Logue, those people typically bring something of their own to the character. Most of you have probably seen him on Vikings as King Horik, but if you want to see what he might be like on Gotham, watch his episodes of Sons of Anarchy. He plays a US Marshal that's forced to retire because he gets too hardcore with criminals. The Bullock character in the Batman universe is all about questionable methods and excessive force. He's something of a bully, but he's not an outright villain, not in the way that Penguin or Poison Ivy are villains. Gordon is the cop that's trying to be Zen. Bullock is the extreme. As for villains, yes, Jada Pinkett-Smith is the big bad of the pilot. They're going to go with a no mutant, no supervillain policy in the beginning. It took Arrow a long time to get to supervillains and The Flash, so be patient. NBC is doing Constantine around the same time Gotham's going to premiere this fall, so there will be full-on superpowers happening on television, just not on Gotham. It's more of like a dark, gritty cop drama with superheroes passing through it. Whenever I first heard that Jada Pinkett-Smith was going to be Fish Mooney, I actually thought it was a reference to the episode of the animated series called The Laughing Fish. In that episode, Joker uses his laughing toxin on the fish population in order to patent them and make a bunch of money, as in fish money. So I don't think that Fish Mooney is a direct reference to that, but it might be a funny Easter egg. Her character on the show is more of a mob boss in the Christopher Nolan Batman Begins tradition. It took Batman and Gordon taking down organized crime in that trilogy before the real supervillains appeared. I don't know how long they plan to keep Jada Pinkett-Smith's character around, but until she's out, don't expect any of the major supervillains to manifest powers. As for all the known supervillains that are already cast on the show, they're going to be like Proto-State. It's a prequel series, so they're going to get their prequel stories too. The Penguin, Oswald Cobblepot, is a mid-level thug played by Robin Taylor. He has one of the standout performances in the pilot episode, so I'm really excited to see it. Just from looking at him, you can see they decided not to go with the Tim Burton or comic book versions of the character. That's just a network TV thing. Everyone doesn't have to be a supermodel, but they want us to sympathize with the character, and it's a little harder to do that when he appears much more comic booky. I will say I love the Danny DeVito and animated versions of the character, but those were very different universes. This show is much more about realism, just like Arrow in Season 1. Joss Whedon actually said this really interesting thing about all these new post-superhero stories that are going on, like Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. He argued that he's not quite ready to be done with the comic booky aspects, like the big Hulks and the Iron Man and the ridiculous plots, but it's easier to sustain a comic book show on a television budget whenever you dial down the special effects, which is part of the reason Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was renewed for season 2. It's not half as expensive as it could have been had they done Avengers-level effects every week. So the other really big characters that we meet in the pilot are the Riddler, Edward Nygma. He's working as a coroner with the police department, and the Poison Ivy character, but her name isn't Pamela Isley. They changed it just a little bit. On the show, her name is Ivy Pepper. It isn't fully explained why they did that, but for all intents and purposes, she's proto-Poison Ivy. And thus far, they have teased the Joker as well as Victor Freeze, although the Joker a little more overtly. Remember, Fox paid a dump truck of money to use the Batman characters, but because it's Fox, don't expect any integration with the Batman vs. Superman movie or any of the other Justice League movies that are happening in the next couple of years. There also won't be any crossover with Arrow, which I know is a bummer, but it's a completely different studio. Usually what happens, and what Arrow has done really well, is reference things in the DC universe using like street names or like the Channel 52 news. They eventually did Star Labs, and now we're full-on Flash, so if Gotham plays its cards right, we'll totally get to see those other Batman characters eventually. Because the Batman universe is so much bigger, there's just so many more comics and characters, I think we're going to get all the non-mutants first, or characters before they became mutants like Killer Croc and Mudface. Think about how expensive Mudface special effects would be every week. That would be crazy. But the pilot is making me really excited. A lot of the promises that it makes won't really be paid off till like the back half of the season, like episode 9, 10, 11. So whenever it airs in the fall, be sure to check it out. It's going to be a lot of fun. I will be doing bonus videos all summer, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. Also, let me know which next Batman character you want to see come on the show. I'm really pulling for Victor Freeze. I want to see him be the next one. So right now, click here to get my breakdown of the Gotham trailer, and click here to learn about the story in Avengers 2. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. High fives.
This is not a city for nice guys.